Hi guys, welcome back to Not Another Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I am attempting to cash budget my way out of debt and learn how to manage my money far more successfully than I have done for any of my adult life. I have dug myself rather a large hole, and it's a problem entirely of my own making, and it's high time I finally sorted that out. Now, if you have been catching up with me so far, you'll know I'm doing something called Budgetmas, which is 30 videos, one a day with the exception of Christmas Day in December, and that is just to fill you in on all of the changes that have happened in my life recently, and really kind of get things up and going ready for next year. Now, this is very much a video where grab a coffee, come and join me, because I've got an awful lot here that I need to sort out. Now, I'm not going to take you through an exact breakdown of what I'm doing. I'm just going to organise my savings challenges and my binders. And then what I'll do is I'll do another video where I actually explain in detail what's in what category, what savings challenges I'm working on. So this is kind of like a prelude or a part one to that. But I thought actually, I've got to organise like my new binders, take these out, pop them into new things, what's going on with my entire pile of savings challenges. But what I also thought I'd do is have a little chat with you guys about work that I've done, the job that I've handed my notice in, the job that I'm keeping going, and also the new job that I'm starting, because I kind of did a very, very brief, I think as part of a video, I have a new job, and then nothing else really came of it. And that's because at the time I had a lot that I was trying to pay attention to, and I had a lot going on. So for those of you that are interested, who are maybe doing some like cleaning or the laundry and just want to sit and chill out over a coffee, this is like the perfect video for you. If this isn't something that you're interested in, then no worries. I've got loads of other videos that you can check out that might have more specific content, and head on over to any one of those, and I'll see you in another video. Now, I have briefly said that I worked in film and TV, and I worked in film and TV mainly on a freelance contract basis, and that would involve things like earning 4 months worth of income in one job, but then not having a job for the following 3 months. And you feel very flush and very rich, but it's incredibly hard to like manage your money if you're not picking up work consecutively. So I would always supplement it with like part-time retail work. And that has kind of, it's gone in my favour in a way over time, because it's meant that like I know that I can apply for a job in retail, and there's a pretty strong chance I would be successful in getting it because I've had experience there, and because the work itself doesn't faze me. But it has kind of, it's meant that like it became a crutch more than anything else. But let me just get rid of this and this and have another bit of coffee. But actually, when I did make the decision that I was going to leave film and television because it wasn't good for like my mental health, my financial health, the industry itself has gone through so much change that it's no longer, I don't recognise it as like a good industry to work in, which is quite a shame. I think you've got to have a lot behind you really to work successfully in film anymore, and I mean financially as well as everything else. Oh, that's a shame. Can I make some of these work? Okay, well that's not entirely disastrous. We can come back to that in a second. So when I did leave, and I knew that like, obviously I needed a job, like the cat needed to be fed, I first went into a part-time Christmas temp for what was job number 1, and that was like 16 hours. It was just slightly more than minimum wage, so it was £9.70 an hour, is what was kind of being paid. And then it was also fully flexible, like you're expected to flex up, but like you'd never have the contract. So if you were expected to like flex up to 24 hours a week, for example, or even 30, you were never going to get like a 30-hour-a-week contract, which has its definite downsides. And it is a real problem, but it is just an expectation of retail now, really. So by the time I realised that, like, and also like it fluctuates. So when the company is approaching like the end of the financial year or like post Christmas, the amount of hours available, you'd immediately just drop down to like your base hours. So if you've been like, I was regularly picking up like 35 plus hours a week over like Christmas time, and then to immediately drop down to like 16, it just wasn't financially feasible. So I then went out and got a second job, but because I liked, and like I do like, I mean, I'm still there, although I'm reviewing it like quarterly, because I really liked the team that I'm working with. I love the company. I do love the product. I can't really afford the product at the minute, but you know, I'll be frank, like hopefully with what I am earning, I can afford to at least get myself a couple of little bits every now and then. So there was all of that, and I wanted to keep them, but then to try and go to like another retail employer, particularly within fashion, there's always like, oh, it's a conflict of interest, you know, etc., etc. So I, although I live rurally, I am in a village where there are resources. And we had, and I can say this now because I've handed my notice in, we had a BP garage, and it was a formal BP M&S partnership, which is how I was able to actually get M&S discount. And because they were so horrendously short-staffed and they were just desperate for anyone who could like start straight away, you had pretty much like your pick of the shifts if you wanted to. So I landed on a 5 evenings a week, so I was doing 6 till 10 3 nights a week, and then 4 till 10 2 nights a week. And then on top of that, I would then be doing daytime shifts, so the store wouldn't open till 9:30 for fashion job number 1. The store wouldn't open till 9:30, so I'd be like on an evening shift. If I started 6 till 10, I'd be working like 9:30 till 4 in the day, having 2 hours off, and then going to work like 4 till 10. And like when I was younger and in my early 20s, I just like, I don't know, maybe it was like the fall of youth, but I just had this total confidence that was absolutely like achievable, and of course I could balance the two, and I very, very clearly couldn't. So therefore it did mean that I got very, very ill, and then that's when the story picks up. Really at the start of this channel was when I was signed off sick. And even when I was freelancing, I was never off long-term sick. That would never have happened, because A, you're responsible for your own income, but also I've always just been able to manage my own health really well. It's never been something that's been a problem up until now. And so I was off work for a total of, one job it was 10 weeks and another job it was 12 weeks. And the difference is because the job that I handed my notice in at BP, they weren't able to accommodate a phased return, because they wanted me back fully fit and working because they were so horrendously short-staffed. Whereas actually, if they'd just been able to look at their rota and schedule the rota a little bit better, and I can say that now that I've left, I would have been able to go in and kind of help and do things for them, but that was not meant to be. And do you know what, there were some good eggs that work there, there really were, and it's the same with every workplace, but it is one that like, even going back, like I was no longer able to manage and do successfully like a 4-hour shift. It really was a struggle. And yet I'd be doing 12 days in a row, you know, 10-hour days at least working wise. So it was just something that never ever sat right. And the difficulty was the fashion job. My manager did then just say to me, she was like, that place, BP, is making you sick. I don't know for sure if that was or not. But she said, you know, and I'm not going to give you your 16 hours. She said, I can keep you on a phased return for as long as I need to. She said, and I'm not going to give you the 16 hours, and you need the 16 hours, basically, to make up there. And I wasn't well enough at the time to pick up overtime at BP. So that was frustrating. And that really sparked me looking for new work. Oh, why aren't you fitting? You're exactly the same brand. I don't understand this. Okay. That's not what I intended. Never mind. So I spent one Saturday basically going through Indeed, LinkedIn, and I think on that first day, and I was fully prepared to like apply for multiple jobs a day. I went through my CV and just went, right, okay, is there anything on here which could, you know, justify an employer hiring me? And I know that sounds awful, but like I'd had a creatively focused CV for so long, interspersed with like part-time, short-term retail contracts, that's the one, that I just kind of has always encountered like serious employers going, why are you applying for us? Like, oh, sorry guys, there may be a little bit of camera shake. So that was really just, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to apply for this. I'm going to get a no for everything. So like I said, I spent 3.5 hours. I did cover letters for all of them. I hated cover letters. I personalised and adapted my CV for every single job. And I was fully prepared like every couple of days to go through and do that. And I should add as well that like at the time when I restarted back at BP, sick pay had completely run out, so I had to go back to work, and they'd announced a pay rise, so my wage had gone up to like £10.90 an hour, and then this company were doing a very small bonus for staff to help with the whole cost of living crisis, basically. That then meant that I knew that like whatever I would do work-wise, because of the bonus and because of the pay rise, I would need to kind of give 4 weeks notice. I wouldn't be in a position to start straight away. And I also wanted to be able to try and go into and have earned like a full month's wage. Like financially, that's the only way I could justify making everything work. So I then, obviously, like I said, you know, I went through and applied, I went to work, lost my purse. So this was all that weekend when the lost purse debacle happened. And then on the Sunday evening, I got a message from one of the places that I'd applied for. And it was like, you guys know the one when you're job searching, by like job 15 that you've applied for, you're just at the point, you're like, well, the worst it can be is a no. I'm not going to get it. It's the highest paid. It's so completely out of my wheelhouse. But what, you know, it's the furthest away. What am I doing driving, you know, south of the county? You know, but hey, what's just one more in the grand scheme of what I'm applying for? And that was very much the attitude, but it was that employer that got in touch with me. And I'm not going to say their name or anything because there is an NDA attached to some of this, in terms of like who I'm working for. But they got in touch, and the fact that like they got in touch on a Sunday evening when like most places aren't even working, and they asked me to contact them about a pre-screening interview. And you know, when you turn up for a job for film and TV, you have like maybe a Zoom, or you present your portfolio and your ideas, and then you find out whether you've been selected or not. Like retail in like jobs are just one interview and you find out either way. So I'd never had a pre-screening interview, and I was like, oh, what is this? And then trying to Google what is a pre-screening interview was just a nightmare. So I had all of that, and then so I do the pre-screening interview, and then I get invited to an actual interview, which I learnt was like round 1. So I'm there going like, okay. And round 1 was like, I would say, your generic interview questions. And that was on the Wednesday. So I'd been contacted on the Sunday. I'd had my pre-screening interview on the Monday. I'd had a first person interview on the Wednesday. And then they contacted again to say, can you come back for the second round of interviews on the Friday? And it transpired that I'd made it down to the last 2. And this was a lot more like industry specific questions. If you came into this scenario, how would you respond to it? What's your level of understanding of here, here and here? Where do you think that, what are your weaknesses? And I was really open about like my weaknesses, because I was going from a creative industry to a technical industry, and I was completely open. I was like, I don't even know why it's lovely to like meet you all, you're all genuinely lovely people, but I don't know why you're interviewing me. I come from a film creative background, this is not this at all. And I don't know whether that went in my favour, but I thought, do you know what, I've made it all this way, it's going to be a no anyway, so it's not going to hurt if I'm just completely like, not waffly and honest, but you guys know what I mean. It's like, well, nothing else can hurt right now. So it meant that like I was in this very bizarre situation where it was a panelled interview with 3 senior, and one of them was the managing director, with 3 senior members of the company. And when I'd first turned up on the Wednesday, I was like, this is nice. Like, this feels like a nice place, if that makes sense. This feels like a really nice place. It's got a really nice atmosphere. The ratio of who is in what role, how everyone interacted, even just things like the style of the office, like that all just really stood out as okay, this is interesting. This feels very different to like the typical roles that I was applying for, I would say, in terms of office-based work, because it was all office. It was all salaried of 22k a year or above, because that would have been the minimum. Now, even me getting a 22k a year salary job would not have helped really financially. The only difference is it would have given me one job paying the equivalent of minimum wage after tax deductions, not multiple jobs trying to pull that together, which is what I was doing basically. So I had all of that going on, and the whole time I was like, I'm not going to get this, I'm not going to get this, I'm not going to get this. Like that whole narrative of, yeah, this is great, I get to see something new. Like, it never crossed my head that like I'd be a viable candidate, but at the end of it, I thanked them for their time and for their interest, and I thanked them for the opportunity of having an interview. So when all that was said and done, I pulled my socks up and I went to work, because I had a BP shift that evening as well, and was like, okay, well, that's done, like that is what it is. That's great, on to the next one, apply for some more. And then they contacted me that evening, because I've been told that because we had half-term week in the UK, two of the people that were making the decisions who were interviewing me were off on annual leave, so they weren't going to be able to make a decision until they were back. And that just kind of was in my mind. It was like, well, yeah, no, this definitely isn't going to happen. So then I was literally working, happened to like check my emails, and just this huge smile just kind of came across my face, and it was the job offer. And the salary is 30k a year, and there is a 6-month probationary period, which after that point, it does then mean that I am eligible for things like company sick pay, private health insurance, which I may look into, but that is obviously tax deductible. There is a really, really good pensions match, and a pension like working freelance. Like, I had it in my head that I was going to work freelance for the rest of my life, and that I would work literally till I died, that I was never going to have the opportunity to earn a pension, qualify for a pension, so there was no point basically even trying to. So, which I know is not the right attitude to take, but I decided at like 14 years old that I was going to go off and be a costume designer. So I'd literally picked and selected all of my educational courses and everything like that on the basis of, I'm going to be a costume designer and I'm going to win a BAFTA, and I'm going to go and work on all these amazing things. And it's definitely not that at all. And that was just those thoughts were the thoughts of someone who just had no real idea of like the reality of the industry I wanted to go into. And I can say that now and be like, not even the foolishness of youth, there just wasn't a lot of overall education. Like, no one in my family, there were creative people in my family, but I was the first person in my immediate family to go to university. My parents didn't, my grandparents didn't. So myself and my cousins, we were the first generation to go, and they were all like, my dad went into the factory when he was 16 and worked his way up within the company. So, and it was a company, you know, his brother worked for and my granddad worked for, and that was just the done thing. That's what you did. Like, it was like over here in the UK, it was like we had the youth training scheme, and you went into an office and you did the youth training scheme if you weren't good enough in school, and then, you know, if you were lucky, you got a job in here, and then maybe you built yourself up. And it was just very much like I would say, like, because all of my family are from Greater London, and Hertfordshire and Essex, it was very much like that 1970s, 80s moment in time that they kind of all encapsulated, and we were all encouraged to like go and study at university. Like, my parents never ever discouraged it. They were all like literally all for our education, and we've all done that, but it did mean that, like, you know, when someone is, I'm vehemently against now people at 16, 17, 18 deciding what they want to do for the rest of their life and then going off to university. I know we don't have the student loans problems that you guys over in the US have, but what we do have is basically one shot at funded, quote unquote, university through the student loan schemes, and then you don't really get that unless you're going into something like a medical or a social work field. That's it. Like, you've almost blown your shot unless you want to privately fund going back to university or going into debt to go back to university to study. And there are things that I would absolutely go back and study if I could, but I can't because I don't have that money. But I have I have a shopping list of things that I would go back and study at university if I could do it all again. So rounding back round, like, to the whole point of like the job, so to speak, I just thought, well, this has been a lovely experience, and if nothing else, being selected to even have that interview, like, I'd never even been selected for an interview for a job like that. I didn't even make it to the actual, like, you know, thank you for applying, however you're not successful. It was always just an automatic, you've not been selected at this time. So I just thought, well, if nothing else, like, the interview experience is valuable. So when they offered me the job, I was like, oh, sugar. And that was not the word I used. And I was with my colleague who I got on the most well with, and he was just like, what? Why are you smiling like that? Not that I'm grumpy on shift, but, you know, it wasn't really a shift where you could smile in that same way. And I just told him, I was like, I've done a thing. He was like, oh, that sucks for us, but it's great for you. So then I looked at the scheduling and was able to negotiate a December start date. So if all goes well, I have started my job on the day you're seeing this. So today is my first day. So yeah, I'll let you know how it gets on. But the moment it's like, because although like a salary is advertised, a lot of the times it may be subject to things like, you know, your previous experience or pro rata based earnings or things like that. So when even like the offer letter came through and I saw that it was what it was, I was like, oh, this is actually happening. Like, this is real. This is real. And then I just started to get more and more and more excited. I've been excited the whole time, but I've had to basically like work notice. And because of that, it's meant that like I can't, you know, I was fully within my rights to, like, based on how long I've been at BP, to just go in and give a week's notice. And I was like, actually, no, like, they are in a stick. They are really short-staffed. They've got a lot going on as a site, my local one. So I was like, well, actually, you know, I'll support you as best I can. I needn't have bothered, guys. I didn't even get, like, a, you know, text saying, I hope it all goes well. But, you know, hey-ho. So I had all of that going on, and I was just like, you know, I will step out and support as much as I can. So that's what I did. And then that, coupled with everything else that was going on at home, has meant that kind of like I'm filming this on the Saturday, as you guys see this. I'm filming this on the Saturday. You're going to see it on like my first day of work. Just all of that was like, okay, I've got to get everything like this sorted out. But it was just the panic of like, I don't know if I can do this. This is so completely out of my wheelhouse. So I offered, and I think what maybe went in my favour a little bit was like I offered to go in and do additional training, because I was aware that I had weaknesses in terms of the field and the specific software and stuff. So I've been going in and doing training throughout November, which has felt more comfortable. That was definitely like the right decision to take, and I would like, if I were to advise anyone on, you know, stuff like that, I would advise doing that, basically. So I don't need you. Bear with me 1 second while I actually just get back up to scratch, just because I've been stuffing these and talking, but I don't think I've actually processed what I'm doing. And we're up to 26 minutes already, so I do maybe need to get my skates on. And I definitely have found that like the mentality of how I'm approaching this job is different to how I've approached others, because I think film was definitely just, I mean, film is just immediate. There's no longevity. There's no planning. Like, if you want to go on maternity leave and work in film, like, genuinely good luck ever getting back into the industry in the same role, because basically, and it sounds awful, but you do kiss your career goodbye. Like, that's it. You are done. There's no room or accommodation for people that have babies, or people that have families, or people that need to take like time off, which just is completely wrong in my book, but it is what it is. So then on top of that, like, just knowing that like all of my finances are gonna line up. But bringing it back round to the story, because this is kind of a story time, I was then like, okay, well, I've given in my notice to one job. What do I do about the other one? Because I still had job number one, my fashion job that I really, really loved. And I went in and spoke to them, and they were able to basically move me onto a shorter contract and do me 6 hours and just go in and work on a Sunday, which was lovely. But because I have now like said goodbye, I would say, to retail to a certain degree, I am struggling with like the thought of staying, I will be honest. So it's kind of like the draw of the 200, I'm having to really like stay focused on the £250 a month that it's going to bring in extra. Now at the minute, like, that's on the basis that I've worked out my tax deductions properly on a second job, and like who knows with the tax man. They seem to have their own way of working things out. But I would say that like that £250 makes a huge difference in terms of like debt payment, savings and things like that, because costs are going up, and I am going to have to look slightly differently at how I manage my money going forward. And that's very much kind of what is spurring on Budgetmas as well, because I'm going to have to look slightly differently at like what I'm earning, where I'm spending, what is a spending priority, what's not a spending priority, savings and things like that. It has meant that like just everything like that just changes. I'm going to need another envelope. I think that's what I've definitely decided. I think that's definitely clear at the minute, guys. I need another envelope. Now, I've got a Happy Mail selection. Where are you? Rewards. I had rewards. You guys have seen me have rewards, haven't you? Well, obviously you've seen me buy rewards. That's different. I mean, I'm talking about the envelope. Road trip. Days out. This is why I have to do this now before I can even start like thinking about anything else. That's the cat, that's gifts. Okay, let's just try and like think about this logically. I tell you what, guys, I'm going to do a break here because this is going to take me a lot longer than I thought, and I don't want to tie you guys up with another one. So we're going to break this here as like part one, because this is actually just a mound of chaos that I actually just need to like focus on for a second, and I will bring you back to story time in part 2, which will be coming out tomorrow. So I'll see you guys very, very soon. I'm really sorry to cut you off. I've just realised how much longer this is potentially going to be, and I'm actually getting slightly lost in savings challenges. So I'm going to love you and leave you, and I will see you guys very soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.